Hi, I'm Nicholas Furst.
And I'm Joey Bloom.
And this is a recap to the 2015 Bears season. We're going to start with a season recap here. We're going to talk about the slow start that the Bears had.
Very slow.
Cutler up and down play. One day he's throwing 4 touchdowns, 0 picks, and one day he's
about 6 picks,
0 touchdowns. So, anyways, yeah, we're talking about that. And Cutler is just a flash in the pan sometimes, and sometimes he's not doing anything and looking like he doesn't care.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I've always been a pretty big fan of Jay Cutler, but sometimes it just looks like he is just doesn't care on the sidelines, and like it's clearly a job, and he's putting in his hours at the steel mill. And and this is I think he forgets this is a game.
Well, Joe, I see a guy like Tom Brady, and you see when he makes plays and stuff like that. I mean, Cutler,
he's on the sidelines screaming, jacking everybody up.
Well, he likes it. He gets a little pumped, but I like Tom Brady's infectiousness.
Oh yeah.
He gets up in like the game with the Seahawks, he goes in and jarring with Richard Sherman and things like that, and I like his competitive fire, and I haven't been a big fan of Tom's in the past, but
I'm actually I am a pretty big fan of Tom Brady. I have to admit, I've always
he's kind of won me over the years.
I just like you were saying, I love the fact you zoom in on the sidelines and he's screaming and got his arms flailing up in the air and he's pounding his lineman on the shoulders.
Just that competitive fire.
Yeah, and I would love to see 50% of that out of Jay. Just a little bit.
But you see, Jay has the arm talent.
Oh, arm talent. That's understating.
Jay can put it anywhere on the field, just like he could throw all the balls that Tom can throw. It's just
maybe even better.
And the thing is, sometimes I don't know if it's preparation, if it's I don't know what it is sometimes. It's just sometimes he's just a little,
lethargic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but I do believe, with Trestman there, it was clearly a poor fit.
Yeah.
And it was clearly he didn't want to play for him, and it was clear that it just wasn't clicking.
I think to add to your point, I think Jay's somebody who needs some structure.
Oh, without a doubt. And I think John Fox is the kind of guy that.
I agree with that. And Jay needs some leadership.
Yeah.
Not all great players are that leader type.
No. And not all quarterbacks are the leader of the team. There have been plenty of teams.
Joe Flacco, for instance.
Right. Absolutely. Example.
Just goes in there and does his thing.
He's quiet and he gets the job done.
And let Ray Lewis, take that leadership role. And
that's why you saw last year the Ravens.
I actually find that to be a good comparison. Joe Flacco, and they're kind of similar players. They both can make about any play on the football field, but they just don't have that outward leadership skills.
But the clear difference is that it actually looks like Joe Flacco cares on the sideline. He does look chill, and he does kind of just do his thing. But you zoom in, and it looks kind of like he's Jay's pouting on the sidelines sometimes, and he's just kind of looks like he's just like I said, there to get the paycheck, there to just get the
paycheck and be done,
and go home to his gorgeous wife and be done with it. I mean, that's what he looks like sometimes. But I definitely think that Jay is by far the best quarterback we can use. He's the best product we can put on the field. He is our best shot at winning.
Yeah,
there is not people saying Jimmy Clausen, stop. Stop.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's a good backup. He can play the position, but I'm done hearing the start Jimmy Clausen crud. I don't want to hear it anymore.
My thing is just put it on the field, Jay.
Right.
Put it on the field. Everything else will just go away. The things with. I say, when you're playing poor, and I hear things like your wife says that she doesn't feel like Chicago is home, and things like that. At that point, people have a right to say, hey, what's going on here? Then go ahead and get out. But Jay, you go ahead and you put it on the field, put the product on the field, and win some games for Chicago, and it'll all be forgotten.
Yeah,
you'll be able to ride off your career in the sunset.
Yeah, I'm not even necessarily saying a Super Bowl win. Because we're not. I don't think we're there to talk about that quite yet.
Oh yeah, there's too much work on the defense.
Right. Well, yeah, and just respectable. I want to be I want to play the Packers, and I don't want to get blown out by 45 points.
No,
I don't want Aaron Rodgers
not.
throwing 6 touchdowns.
Absolutely
on us.
not. That's at the core of my fandom, but that's a whole other story.
Yes, and I just, if we can compete with the Packers, if we can, be respectable in the NFC North, even in the NFC Conference, that's a win for me. I don't need a ring on your finger, Jay.
That's one thing that I liked about Lovey. Is one thing Lovey said is our goal: beat the Packers.
Yeah,
that's something as a Bears fan that just
you need to do. It fuels the fire.
It goes to the heart of me, and things like that Randall Cobb sidearm bullet in the NFC Championship game. There's things like that just
don't
stick.
Even get me started on that.
that just stick with me, and the Rex Grossman years and getting there and not being able to get over the hump.
Yeah, and driving in the. Being down 22-17 and being on the winning drive and throwing an interception touchdown and trust me, yeah. But also some of the thing that I also have a problem with was the inconsistencies with the wide receivers. I am a fan of Brandon's. I do like Brandon Marshall. I think that I don't know how he's gonna do with the Jets. They don't have much of a quarterback there.
No,
but. I am a huge fan of Alshon Jeffrey. I think that he can definitely be that guy, that number one guy that is the go-to guy. And I do believe that Kevin White can be that complimentary player. And I know we were talking about that. I think that you would agree that Kevin White is freakishly athletic.
He is.
And if he can learn that route running, just get better at his route running, he can be a wonderful complimentary receiver to Alshon Jeffrey.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to, and I hope that the combination of the new coaching staff that we have in place can get him what he needs to be. And I think that they can do that.
Because there's part of a project with Kevin White. But the physical tools are off the charts.
Yeah. And watching with the combine, it's like... That guy, he can go up and get the ball no matter where it is. I mean, and he is a guy that kind of came out of the blue, West Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they didn't have much
1
of a
year
season.
wonder. Yeah.
And people are saying, well, Amari Cooper's the guy that's going to be, the NFL Pro Bowl receiver just because his route running is spot on. Yeah. He went to Alabama. That's basically a mini pro team. Yep. Watching them play. But, I do think that Kevin White can definitely...
There's more physical tools in Kevin White.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And if he learns that route running, he will have a better career, in my opinion, than Amari Cooper will.
Yeah,
especially playing for the Raiders, And
as much as I loved Brandon Marshall, I truly feel, I know it's a little early to say, but I truly feel that Kevin White and Alshon Jeffrey are going to have a little bit better of a chemistry.
I could see it.
In terms of...
Alshon and Brandon were not on the same page.
No, they were not on the same page in terms of the field. Brandon was a great mentor.
Yeah.
But other than that, just...
He needs the ball. He's the kind of guy that craves the football. He exceeds, when he was on Miami, he was the only guy there. He was the only receiver on Miami. And even though they had no quarterback, he exceeded just because there was no one else to throw the ball to.
Well, and what it was, I believe, with the wide receivers is that with the two same type of players, with Alshon and Brandon, teams were constantly able to just press up.
Yeah,
and say, go ahead and beat us deep.
Yeah.
Go ahead and beat us deep.
And if you can, there's your
we
points.
Were consistently unable to beat teams deep.
Yep.
And the thing is about a person like Kevin White and Eddie Royal, who we just added, is there is that scare factor that teams have when they're going up against these players.
Right.
They have to back off a little bit, and then there you go.
Because Eddie Royal can burn you.
Then you go. Alshon hits a button hook, and
he's gone.
He's gone.
Yeah,
and things like that. And in the having Eddie Royal in the third spot, I think will just be invaluable to us.
Oh yeah,
being able to just stretch the field. And
they haven't had a legit. People say Devin Hester was that guy, but stop it. He was good. He was fast. He made moves, but Eddie Royal is a receiver. Yeah, none. And as a kick returner, probably the greatest ever. Kick returner only.
I would have to say yes.
Yeah, I for argument's sake, people say Deion Sanders, whatever.
Other than the end of his career, when he started to try to do too much.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, but Eddie Royal is a proven NFL receiver that is fast, and not only that, has chemistry with Jay Cutler when they played in Denver.
Also experience at the slot.
Yeah, well, and then we haven't had an experienced slot receiver.
And waiting on Marquise Wilson to materialize.
Yeah, I can't do it. I think I like Marquise Wilson, but it feels like we've been waiting on him forever. It's like, that huge injury that he had, it's like,
And through the times, Brandon constantly trying to feed that. Marquise is the guy. He's the guy. Don't sugarcoat it. Give the guy time. Don't overload him. Things like that. I've not given up on Marquise Wilson.
No.
By any
I
stretch.
see what you're saying, though.
But let him compete with a veteran like Eddie Royal.
Yeah.
Kind of keep learning.
Competition is what brings out the best in players. That's why. The people talk about, I know it's kind of off top. Mark Sanchez in New York, the reason that he was so, ended up being not very good is because he was given the starting job right away.
Yep.
Never had anybody in the, creeping in the background to give him a boost. He goes to Philadelphia after years, is a backup role, comes in when Foles gets hurt, killed it.
Yeah.
Because he was like, I have something to prove now.
Yeah.
And that's what players need. They need to have something to prove in order to bring out their best qualities as players. And that's in any sport. That's just
and not only that, I feel that the biggest jump between college and pro in any sport, I would say, is the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
Stacked up with anything else.
Yeah.
And just, things like that. You got to give certain players time, to kind of learn the NFL system.
Right.
Kind of get themselves going.
Yeah.
So.
There are those guys that come out of the college and they're freaks. Like guys like J.J. Watt who end up being better in the NFL than they were in college. But those are physical freaks.
Rookies of the year coming straight out.
Right.
Yeah. But anyways, we're going to look at the lack of defensive leadership we had.
Man. I don't know. I don't think anyone deserved to wear a captain badge. I know Tressman ended up taking them off the jerseys, but I don't know anyone. It was brutal.
See, I found that to be a big problem.
I agree. I didn't like how they took him off, but I also think that there was no one that really deserved it. The reason he took him off, I don't agree with, because he took him off. I don't want to highlight anybody as better. Well, that's not a captain.
That's
isn't
not
better.
What it's about.
They don't throw the C's on hockey jerseys because he's the best player.
Correct.
They throw it on there because he's the leader of the team.
Correct.
And I definitely I see what they were doing, but unless you are the Steelers, they don't wear C's on their jerseys. But that's because they don't. Tomlin doesn't believe in that. He doesn't believe in broadcasting who the captain is, because in the locker room the players know who the captains are.
Exactly.
They're well. The Bears.
And that wasn't the Bears' situation.
No,
not
even close.
Room.
Not even close.
It was kind of he was picking them weekly, correct?
It was weekly stuff. Whoever performed the week past.
And players didn't feel like they could be that voice,
right?
Because they weren't. And the younger,
unless you have an attitude like Brandon Marshall, who never shuts up.
Exactly, and the younger guys did not give those guys a certain amount of respect that they probably deserved, even though there may not have been enough leaders in that locker room.
Yeah, the only guy on the Bears, and I'm going to miss him, and I'm sad to see him go. The only guy that should have worn and never did wear, I don't think he ever wore a captain's pass, was Tillman. Maybe he did. I don't remember if he ever did. But he's the only one on that team that that actually had influences on the younger players, like Kyle Fuller. As you saw when he went down, Tim Jennings kind of went with him.
Exactly.
Tim Jennings is a great corner, and I loved it. But without that first Tillman threat, it was like where's Jennings at?
Exactly.
Is he on the field? I don't see him.
I just thought of Charles Tillman. I'm just a huge fan, and I thought Tillman embodied what a Chicago Bear was.
Oh yeah, no question.
With the not only being the Walter Payton Man of the Year.
Yep.
Just everything that he did, his work ethic, his toughness.
Ripping the ball out of receivers'
hands. Everything just embodied what the Chicago Bears are.
Yeah.
And you see what kind of effect he had on Kyle Fuller. You see Kyle Fuller punching that ball out just like just like Charles Tillman. Now
it looks similar.
It's almost like a clone.
Yeah.
And just I was so sad to see him go. Just like Brandon Marshall. Those type of guys. Whether their skills were declining or not, You know, those type of guys, like I said, embodied what a Chicago Bear was and showed everyone around the locker room what a Chicago Bear was and what they should